Buongiorno a tutti, ben ritrovati ai nostri webinar, al nostro secondo appuntamento della settimana ed il primo in lingua inglese. Il tema di oggi è Define and Elaborate Requirements e avremo come relatrice la nostra Ivina Kulikova. Vi invito anche a quello che sarà il nostro prossimo webinar la prossima settimana, che è La voce, un arcobaleno che scopre colori, molto interessante perché verrà tenuto da un docente attore anche, che è Amleto Ravedoni. Di conseguenza potrebbe essere un tema molto interessante per tutti. Per cui adesso possiamo dare avvio a questo nuovo, diciamo, filone di webinar in lingua inglese. So, now we can start. Good morning and thanks to participate to this webinar. Now we invite Irina to introduce herself and to start to the webinar. Thanks for all of your interest.
Hello, my name is Irina, and I'd like to say thank you to all of you, to participants, and for invitation to be a speaker today. It's my great pleasure to present the topic Defined and Elaborate Requirements, Secrets for Achieving Project Success. Firstly, I'd like to say some words about me. I'm certified project manager, business analyst, consultant. I have over 18 years experience. I'm working with different fields, with different kind of projects. I was working with telecom companies, with in education fields, in transport, with transport, railroad, automobile roads, different transportation, and I'm working in IT company. We are creating a different system for different companies, both state and private business, and we developing systems like a ERP system. I'm working as a project manager, program manager, sometimes as a business analyst too. And I had chosen this topic not only because it's very important, but because I have a huge experience in the different fields with the different kind of projects, and so because of that I have own view and viewpoint on this problem, which we have almost in each project. If you like to ask something, don't hesitate, or just write your question. If I could not get answer after presentation on your question, I will write answer to you later on email, by mail, or in my blog. I have own blog, to pay her dirt. This blog is based on platformprojectmanagement.com. Also, sometimes I publish some articles in LinkedIn and other resources. In my presentation, I will refer to the information technologies, but all these things, of course, might be used in other fields. There are three content parts in this presentation. Why this topic is a vital question. In this part, we will look at the place and role of Define and Elaborate requirements in the projects. Secrets for achieving project success. This part will show the main tools, methods, and their combinations in the process of Define and Elaborate requirements. We will see some approaches for using these methods and tools. And conclusion. This part will give to us some advisors how to begin using these secrets. Why this topic is a vital question. Requirements are essential to the development of all products. Without clear requirements, you can produce a perfect product. You will have an incomplete or defective product. Throughout the process, there can be many people involved in defining requirements. A stakeholder might request a feature that describes how the product will provide value in solving a problem. A designer might define a requirement based on how the final product should look or perform from a usability or user interface standpoint. A business analyst might create a system requirement that adheres to specific technical or organizational constraints. So defined and deliberate requirements is a discovery phase and is essential to success of any project. Most organizations have various degrees of project failure, which is addressable to inadequate and improper working with requirements. It's a problem, and all of you know about this. And when you think about your project, your IT strategy, business strategy, when we think about what we could propose to the business, to the consumers, it's all about product requirements, because we have to propose the solution which will satisfy all consumers. However, how could you know what kind of characteristics the product must have? How could we use the standard methods and recommendations? We always have the same questions. That's why we talk a lot about requirements. For example, projectmanagement.com contains about 8,000 articles, deliverables, webinars devoted to the requirements problem. Amazon.com also contained thousands of books devoted to requirements problem. We have a lot of tools, methods which concern to work with requirements. And before we start to talk about requirements, we have to clearly understand what does define and deliberate requirements mean. According to the PMI Guide to Business Analysis, a requirement is a condition or capability that is necessary to be present in a product, service, or result to satisfy a business need. Define and elaborate requirements is the process of refining and documenting requirements and other types of product information at the appropriate level of details, format, and level of formality required for various audience. The main difficulties are that, for example, because it's not only about requirements and about creating new products, it's always about business development and business strategy. When we created a new IT system, it's always concerned business development, and the understanding business requirements is very important. For example, you have a shop, and when you created a website, you have received a new market because we get more clients for your products. If you're working in an international company, for example, maybe this company working with delivery shipments, and you created a new technology for one big international company. So as a result, you have not only new technology for this big client, but you have new technology which you could use for work with other clients. So you could expand your business. Many companies, developers, and customers have not still completely realized that the time has come for new approaches to the IT systems development, especially for large projects, most of which is the basis for decision-making systems too. So in all projects, we need a successful business analysis, including define and elaborate requirements. As a result of this process, we will have full product description and requirements. But what do we have now? Incorrect requirements are the main cause of project failure, ranging between 47% and 70% in recent years. In accordance with my reports, Java software researchers, the main cause of project fail is the gaps in the requirements management, and misunderstanding of desired product. Poor requirements equal poor performance. Identifying their connections among poor requirements management, project failure, wasted project money is an important first step in addressing the problem. For example, all of you know, if we have a rework on the early project stage, as you can see on the picture, it is expensive, but it is less expensive than if you make a rework on the latest project stages. And it is less expensive to fix a defined and elaborate requirements error than a coding error. However, sometimes people believe that a requirement specification documentation is the easiest to produce than other work on the project, and they are trying to reduce the time for this project process. I don't know what is your situation, but in my country we see it very often. And it's not right, of course. Such viewpoint is one of the root cases of rework. So, of course, we can't waste all time for define and elaborate requirements. We need some balance, and following approaches, we could very easy to get the right requirements. It also will be noted that perfect communications between project manager and business analyst will increase the probability of project success. So, what could we do? Nowadays, our world is changing very fast. Everything is in motion. I think all of you see it because all change very quickly. Because of this, we use agile and other methods which help us to work quickly. It's not always successful, but we are trying. And in these conditions, we need to get new thinking because we know a lot of methods, but we have to think differently for our success. Also, we need new lines of approach to use standard methods and techniques which will help us to get ahead. And this is our success, our benefits from projects, our progress, and so on. It's very important to see in the right direction. To determine problems and identify business needs, we have to see around us to find obvious things, and we can to use the next secrets. So, secrets for achieving project success. These secrets will help us to work more successful. Secret number one, to look at the problem from above. As Albert Einstein said, you can never solve a problem on the level on which it was created. We can see it in our life. A lot of companies invited consulting firms for improving their processes. Why they do it? Because when they are involved in these processes, they could not figure out their problems themselves. It's very difficult to see the root of problems the right way when you are involved in those activities. It's some characteristics of our thinking. For example, I was taking part in the Olympic Games, which was in October last year, and on these games I've seen differences in the thinking conditioned by the country in which we live. For example, the main challenges for a Russian team were new sanctions, new taxes, new problems from our government. For the Indian team, the solution will always consider the government help. completely opposite opinions about government. Maybe you noticed when you go to the mountains, you involuntarily look at all life and work situations as it is from above and see them somewhat differently than when you are among them. There are some techniques of such thinking, and these techniques can help us to pull away and look at the problems from the outside without going to the mountains. So how could we do this? So you see some methods. Some of these methods there are in standards. These methods in the red cycles. And some of these methods always use consultants in their works. The first one knows the main trends. Of course, it's very important because when you created something new and you have to propose a great solution for your customer, for your consumers, you have to know the main trends. As I can see, we have some groups of these trends. The first group is about world economy processes and trends. The second group is about technologies, and the third group is about people. In the first group, we have such trends as the multicultural aspects of social and economic development, peaceful cooperation, continuing opening of the societies and economies on one side. In the second group, we see the new technologies, we see the technologies development. We see such technologies like Internet of Things, which may become blockchain Internet of Things, proposing new services and creating new businesses. Also, financial technologies would become greener, and people will get the quantum computer, which will work a billion times faster than today's microprocessors. Sometimes it happens. Another one technological trend is about augmented reality. And of course, all of you know about bots because we use them everywhere, and it's also new technology which will grow up very rapidly. And we will see a continuing digital centralization, artificial intelligence, permission, data overload, including reduced privacy and possible a new generation of internet. Marketing will continue to become increasingly personal, based on the people behavior, psychology, feelings, emotions. So all of these trends we could use in our work. And the third trend about people, also very important because we always work with people. And it's about changing of people, and the focus is less about millennials and more about their cohorts in Generation Z. But for my opinion, we have also to keep in mind all these people because they are active, have possibilities by health for work, and many of them want to work and have a large useful experience and knowledges. Also, we have some trends concerned project managers because now project managers become more product managers. Sometimes customers want to see the expert in the field, and he want to see this expert in the project manager. I was in the same situation. We had a contract with government, and before the government approved our contract, they invited me. I was the project manager, and only after our meeting, in which they need to see how I understand this field, which concern our project, they approve our contract and we started our work. We'll start it. And it's also we have to use in our work, in our projects, and when we define and deliberate requirements too. So the next methods look at the best practices. Before we start each work, we have to know what thing exists in this field today. You don't need to think up the known things, but we have remember the best practices which we could find are not our solution. Of course, it's easy to follow best practices, but it's not always work. They usually come from experiments conducted by one company in one particular context. And we can't have the same situations. So because of them, we have to use something better from these best practices and develop these techniques and methods in our work. Each business is unique and should be treated as such. And the most best practices are best practices, but knowledge about them are very useful. And think about the time to come up with an experiment, test it, implement it, talk about it, and finally have it accepted as a best practice in the industry you are in. The next method is know the main problems in the field. It's also very important because we have understand the field in which we work. And when we know the main problems in this field, we can see in the right direction. It helps us to be prepared for work before the project start. We have to learn the common situations in this field. We have to get common understanding. All projects are different. We can't work always in the same conditions. If we change our field, we have to learn this field because sometimes the people don't want to understand new field, especially it concerns the project managers, because sometimes the project manager become more project administrator than project leader. And the next tool is make a glossary. The glossary is a list of all definitions for term and acronyms about the product. You have to speak with consumers on the same language and fully understand them. One of the key of successful product delivery is provide all stakeholders with a common understanding of what's being built. And you can't do anything without a glossary. Writing a use case helps us in getting the list of scenarios. You will know the main actors and scenarios names. A use case model is a business analysis presentation of the step defining the interaction between a user called an actor and a system called an is usually a computer system. It details the interaction and sets the expectations of how the user will work within the system. The use case model consists of two artifacts: the use case diagram, which is a graphical representation showing which actors can operate which use cases, and the use case description, sometimes called the use case narrative, which is a text-based, detailed, step-by-step interaction and dialogue between the actor and the system. The use case description is a written account of the sequence of steps performed by an analyst to accomplish a complete business transaction. It's initiated by an actor, provides value to that actor, and is a goal of the actor working in that system. After we write a use case, we have to write a product backlog. It's on this step, it's high-level requirements for our product. Product backlog stands for detailed, appropriately estimated, emergent, and prioritized. A product backlog is never complete. The earliest development of it lays out the initial node and best understood requirements. So on the next steps, we see our product backlog and added something to this. So the product backlog is dynamic. It always changes, and to identify what the product needs to be appropriate, competitive, and useful. And so best practice example which we have from using the secrets number 1, look at the problem from above. We had such situation. The customer wanted an information system for collecting and processing material application. And in work with this customer, we use the secret number 1. So we not only hear our customer, but we look at the problem above. And we discovered that our customer don't know what materials they have, what storages they have, and where they are. Customer had a huge problem with contract management and supply of materials. They had situation when car materials came to the storage and no one knew what the contract was. Also, one time they had another situation. Divisions needed tires for cars. They submitted applications. Tires were bought. Later, it turned out that at the time of collecting applications for tires, a huge number of tires were in the central warehouse, but almost no one knew about it. It was a real situation with our Russian company. I know these situations are incredible, maybe, but it's real life. And as a result, we have developed a full cycle raw materials management information system from the occurrence to the materials write-off. So this system was very useful for our customers, and finally they knew all their warehouses. Secret number 1 benefits. You talk with the customer on the same language. It's very important. You can easy to understand the situation and you can find the best solution. Secret number 2, to ask the right question. As Edward Cumming said, always a beautiful answer who asks a more beautiful question. Right questions help you to discover problems and formulate requirements. Always we maybe think that it's easy, but it's not easy as we could think. So how could we ask the right questions? Firstly, we can use the 5 why and 1 how method. Answers on these questions are considered basis in information gathering. Therefore, in the business analysis, we have also 5 why. It's some typical questions which we could use in each project. Why is it the problem? Why is this situation happening? Why do you have this process? Why are no alternatives working? Why the solution of this problem is so important? How do you do this? It's a common question, of course, but we could use it in each project and its work. The second method, ask about goals. I saw a lot of situations when people often try to explain what they want to see, how could it work, but for defining deliberate requirements, we have to understand their goals. When we understand their goals, we understand how we could define and deliberate requirements. It's very useful for us. And the third method is using just for mama. What does it mean? It means that you have described something very understandable. If your mother has understood you, it will be understandable for another people. It's sometimes when we try to explain something for someone who are not a technical specialist or not specialist in this field, and it helps us to understand to each other. And when we formulated a question, we also its method is also useful because all mom love their children, and when you ask your mother about something, she could say something what you want to hear, not the truth. For example, if you ask your mother, is the product nice? Of course, your mother say to you, of course, it's nice, you are great. But if you ask your friends, will you buy this product? Of course, your friend said to you, yes, I will, but it's not truth. It's also their support to you. Because of that, you have to formulate questions in such way that even your friends or your mother can't to be a liar. The fourth method, thinking like a trees. Trees is a theory of inventive problem solving. It was developed by the Soviet inventor Heinrich Altschuler and his colleagues. TRIZ analyzes engineering problems and then suggests solutions based on structure. Inventing problems contain at least one contradiction which arises when improving one feature that distracts from another. And thinking like a TRIZ means to think broadly, not to compromise and to reinforce divisions, to move away from traditional ideas and look for solutions in the related fields. Use analogies, direct, any taken from nature, symbolic, fantastic. It's not easy, but it needs some training. But it's possible because you can train in your thinking in this way, and you will have the great solutions. The five methods is about product backlog, and in these approaches we use backlog for elaboration requirements. And the last method in this secret is avoidance of misleading information. It is the important thing in this talking. Sometimes we exciting, and in this time we don't hear what the other people say. We talk a lot about what we think. We want to say much more and more, and we can't stop. Maybe all of you know this situation. Or sometimes people don't give the clear information. So we need to change talking in the right way. In addition, of course, you have to remember to choose the right person as an interviewer. And the best practice example. Our customer, Ministry of Transport, wanted to be able to enter into the system a summary of billboards on the roads. We used the secret number 2 and asked the right question to our customer. As a result, we added functionality into the system with the ability to enter data about billboards with automatic check of permission to install and referring to exact to the road and road section. So it was very different from their first request because firstly they said to us, please give to us this functionality very quickly. We have a lot of people which will go to the roads and check all billboards from the roads, and it will if we heard our customers and did as it said, we will revoke our system later. And secret number 2, ask the right questions, benefits. You get the necessary information, you understand right what really the customer needs, you formulate the right requirements. And the next secret number 3, requirements management. As Leonard Bernstein said, to achieve great things, 2 things are needed: a plan and not quite enough time. So it's always work, because when we have a lot of time, sometimes we don't do anything in this time. So how could we do the requirements management? We could do this in the usual way. So we have to plan, we have initiating, planning, monitoring and control, executing, and close to check our requirements. So you can see these methods here on the diagram. The planning, how we could get the right requirements. Plan must include questions on which you try to find answers, methods and instruments for work with them, list of sources, time, responsibilities, plan for integration, plan for quality assurance, and you can add in your plan some information about persons with whom you will talk. It's also very important because you have understand which person you see and how could you talk with this person. So the next method is teamwork. It's always very important because all team members must be in the loop. All team members need to understand why they do that or this, and which goal we need. It's very important for the team and for their effective work. And in this case, you will get the support from all team members. And team collaboration can help in receiving support on decisions and in planning good requirements. Integration management, it's always very important because we are working with different people. We always have the not only one consumer or customer, we have a lot of stakeholders, a lot of people which are involved in the project. So we need integrated all requirements, all requested, and requirements traceability is a way to organize, document, and keep track of the life of all your requirements from initial idea to testing. All of you, I think, know about traceability matrix, where it's a very good tool for requirements management. You should be able to trace each of your requirements back to its original business objective. By tracing requirements, you are able to identify the ripple effects changes have, see if a requirement has been completed and whether it's been tested properly. And quality management. We always have to think about quality, and we need some quality characteristics which we will check throughout the process. And requirements management tool allows requirements to be stored in a repository, included as status, any known attributes, value, and related models. JAMA research has shown that project teams can eliminate 50 or 18% of project defects by effectively managing requirements. And the best practice example. We created the government information system of fuel and energy complex. It was several thousand users, thousands of functions, thousands and one records, and so on. It was a very big system, very big functional, a lot of requirements. We had we had tasks, more than thousands papers, lists. It was very big. And the secret number 3, requirements management, in this case was very important, maybe most important all other secrets. And because in this situation you can't do anything without requirements management. What we are building, is everyone in the loop? Have we considered all the requirements? Are there requirements in the development? What about test case? We need to make change. Who will be approve this change? How this change will influence on the other requirements? So a lot of questions, and the requirements management gave us answers of all these questions. It was a very hard work, firstly, but and a lot of communications, but as a result, the requirements were formulated correctly. It was easy to work with changes, and later none of these requirements were forgotten during implementation. And the secret number 3, benefits. We know what we are building, a transparent process, and the define and elaborate requirements process is managed process. It's very important. And the secret number 4, the truth about the product. As Aldous Huxley said, facts do not cause to exist because they are ignored. So this, you can see some methods for these approaches, which you will use in these approaches. Firstly, be skeptic and always ask questions with why. I mean, especially very useful in the result analysis, the McKinsey technique called MESSE, mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. When you think in this way, you can find your gaps in the requirements, and you can prevent duplicates too. MESSE structures your thinking with maximum clarity and the maximum completeness. MESSE starts at the top level of your solution, and you have to use always these techniques. So, for example, when you think you have determined the issues, take a hard look at them. Is each one a separate and distinct issue? If so, then your issue list is mutually exclusive. Does every aspect of the problem come under one and only one of these issues? That is, have you thought of everything? If so, then your issues are collectively exhaustive. I think you have to, if you don't use these methods, it's very useful method, you can try to use it. And the initial hypothesis, also the one of McKinsey problem-solving process pillar. It means working with hypotheses, define, generate, and test them. Oh, of course, we always use these methods when we write in the use case scenarios, and it helps us user stories. It's also like the some kind of using hypothesis, because we are writing the user stories. We check this story with consumer or customer, and then we did some corrections, and they try again. Story elaboration is the process which user stories are further detailed with additional information until they are ready for development. Story slicing is a technique used to split epics or user stories from a higher level to a lower level. And business rule catalog show dependencies between business rules and attributes. It could be a table, and it also uses us for working with define and elaborate requirements. So the best practice example of these secrets and approaches, we have developed a portal for a children's center. This center attracts children from various countries, enabling them to relax and to develop skills. the vouchers can be bought or received for free by winning competitions. And the problem was not only because not only the children's center work with these vouchers. This children's center have a lot of partners and a different kind of partners. It's commercial partners for selling vouchers, and some topic partners and some another partners for which help them to organize competition for children. And so a lot of people and even a lot of companies was involved in this process. And it was necessary to build a common scheme for attracting children. And all companies, all participants have to use this scheme. And we use the secret number 4 because main problem in this was in analysis. We need a clear analysis, we need a new decision for this center. And we have collected wishes from all the participants of the processes, analyzed the technique of MESE. We propose our solution to the customer, and customer assigned it. And now this children's center work on with our scheme. They use our product, which we created for them. So the secret number 4 benefits. Requirements are clear and reliable. Requirements are consistent. Requirements are comprehensive. And the conclusion. To formulate the right requirements is a very complex task. Methods and tools are proliferating, but following the above secrets or approaches give you a perfect start toward achieving project success. And how could you use these approaches and or secrets? These secrets, it's not techniques, it's about thinking. You have to think in this way. Think about the secrets names, to look at the problem above, requirements management, truth about the product, ask the right questions. If you think in this way, you will use these methods on all in this way too. And before you begin, think about all these secrets, and you need full picture. And for using them, maybe you need some training in this, because it's about thinking. It's not when we try to use some new methods in thinking, we have some time for this. We have some time to completely understand these methods of thinking, these approaches, these techniques, and very useful for training in the analytical tools like method trees, writing use case, product backlog, and so on. Using combinations of these tools and methods help you to achieving project success. And for example, we have to develop an interest in the main things in technologies, economy, politics, and so on. For example, because if we want to know the main trends, of course, we have to interested in these trends. I heard one question from one person when I told about that we have to know the main trends. One person asked me why she have to know the main trends. She don't work with them, doesn't work with them, but I don't understand how we could create something new if we don't know what happens in the world. And because of that, we have to know main trends. And for this, we need some methods for organize our information, because there are a lot of information everywhere in the internet, and there are a lot of resources, there are a lot of websites, a lot of channels, and a lot of information everywhere, but we have to choose someone which will more useful for us. And reading this, because we don't need to be overloaded by a lot of information. And of course, in all examples which I told, we used all secrets, but I highlighted the most important secret for each example. I'd like to say thank you for your attention. I'll be happy to get your feedback about after the presentation. If you like to know more details or maybe more information, you could find me in the LinkedIn and other resources, and we will continue our dialogue and our collaboration. Thank you.
Okay, thanks to Irina for your time. Thank to all of you for attention, and I invite you to our next webinar, April 2. La voce, un arcobaleno che scopre tesori. Arrivederci a tutti e alla prossima settimana.